right, so it looks like we're live. I hope everybody can actually hear this stream. We had some technical difficulties getting ourselves kicked in, and you're probably wondering why I actually did a live stream today, Sunday, in the middle of the day, uh, on Columbus Day weekend. And the reason is because we're actually um, putting together a video to be able to release for our regular time slot on Real Estate Plate. We normally have this done um, every Monday, 6 to 7 during the radio show. We do the live stream, but at the same time, because it's Columbus Day tomorrow, we're not going to be doing a live show. So I wanted to make sure that I actually had some content out there for our regular time slot, and people could actually see what they're doing. We are looks like somebody actually stepped in, but that being said, um, I hope everybody's having a great Columbus Day. You probably clicked on this thumbnail because of the dramatic color, and made me look like the devil on there and that kind of thing. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands this is not going to be a doom and gloom kind of um, stream. I mean, we're not going to be all like harping on the fears of everybody and making everybody freak out and that kind of thing. Because the truth be said, we have to take this whole current market and this whole real estate situation in a very logical type of a setting. Like we have to start understanding that everybody's coming out with all these predictions. Everybody is giving their 2 cents as far as what they think is going to happen and that kind of thing. And that's great. Everybody loves to do predictions. I'll do predictions. I do them all the time. We all have this crystal ball, and we basically are giving our insight of where this market's going to be directed. And the truth be said, we all don't know the definitive answer. We could take a logical approach to it, and we can actually start to rationalize of where this market is going, but nobody can actually give you a definitive answer. Anybody that tells you that they can really is being very uh, ambitious, I guess, as far as their you know just getting their guarantees and stuff like that. Because I'll give some guarantees, but the guarantees I give when I make a prediction, I can stand behind it, and not everybody does. Um, that's the beauty of saying things. You could always you know twist it and turn it in a different way. You got to stand by what you're saying. And anything that I'm going to talk about in this video, I'm definitely going to stand by. And if I'm wrong, you're more than welcome to call me out on it. I've been wrong before. However, I tend to be very careful and very conservative of us how I approach these things. It's negligent of a lot of people, and harmful of a lot of people on YouTube, and these real estate gurus, and these mm, you know super geniuses, so called super geniuses that know everything that there's to be said about real estate, and they're trying to guide people in a way that honestly is not a really good mindset. It's not a really good process, and it's not a good way to go about it. I'm actually going to I'm actually going to do something that's a cardinal rule, that the bad thing to do when it comes to uh, being on live streaming, radio, whatever that you're doing. And I'm gonna actually try to play back what I'm doing right now. I just want to make sure that the audio is clear on there. So you're gonna hear some playback for a second, but oh, looks like we actually getting the
Oh, looks like we actually getting the.
look
Oh,
at
looks
that.
like we actually getting the.
Look at
Oh, looks
that.
like we actually getting the. Looks like we actually getting the.
that, that's that's awful.
That's awful.
Okay, okay. So we did the test. We got audio. That's all that matters. We got audio, and that's good. We're definitely in okay shape. So the fact that we got the audio and I know that everything is complete. Thank you for everybody that's actually tuning in live. I didn't expect if anybody would gonna actually tune in live during this stream because one, it was unannounced, and two, the reason why I'm doing it right now at this time is one, I don't want to do it in the middle of the night and only appease the insomniacs like myself that do things in the middle of the night. But the other thing is that I've come to an understanding that it takes quite some time uh, for um, it takes a little bit of time for these streams once they're done to process and be able to be public. So I'm hoping by the time I'm done with this stream and everything is completed on here, um, that we'll be able to have it, within the middle of the day tomorrow, completely processed, and it'll be able to be live and public to everybody. So that's the most important thing that I wanted to make sure that I was able to accomplish with the stream. And that being said, I guess we might as well dive into the subject. Thank you everybody for that. That's actually coming out. I'm seeing a little by little people are actually starting to tune in live. It's one at a time. We got two people in right now, so that's good. Two other than myself, so we got a total. We got a little party right now of people on the stream. So here's the thing. Let me just make sure that everything is clear. If you see me a little bit distracted, I'm looking the other way. It's because I got multiple monitors in front of me right now. Because I am trying to work a different type of camera that I'm working on. I know that it's a lot clearer than what I've been using in the past, and I'm not sure if you can definitely see you can see the difference. I can definitely see the difference, and I'm hoping that the audio and the video combined is a better experience for everybody that's actually on here. And again, like right now, I'm just rambling on a little bit, and I'm, just making sure that everybody that actually has interest in logging in actually does log in. So that's why where we are right now. Uh, it looks like actually more people are actually logging in. That's pretty cool. That is very cool. I'm happy about that. I'm definitely happy about that. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I should actually edit this after I'm done with the live stream and give everybody a better um, experience once I put it out there. But like I said, the purpose of this video is to give something out there for a regular time slot. I want to make sure that moving forward with the real estate plate, that even on our days off from being live, that I always have something that's out there for people to be able to view and not feel that there's too many gaps in between our videos. I've been trying as much as I can of late over the past year or so to be more consistent with the videos going out there, because that's one of the biggest problems and one of the biggest issues I've had in the past, um, where I didn't necessarily keep up with the videos. Obviously, I've been busy with work and that kind of thing, but I definitely want to make sure that I keep I keep on it, and I'm putting out enough content that is valuable and people find interesting. And here's the thing: I'm not one of these guys that are going to be essentially, hitting on your senses with all the crazy music and the bright lights and everything. All you're going to get from me is basically straight type of talk about real estate. Once in a while, you catch a little goofy promotion or something like that that I'll put together, or when I have a certain type of thing that I wanted to do a little bit more um, polished, you'll see that come out. But most of our streams, most of our talking points are going to be in this kind of way, where I'm sitting in front of the camera, having conversation with you, letting you know what's going on with the market right now. Sometimes you'll participate in actually, uh, sending me your comments. Sometimes I'll get emails from people, and that's great. That is a really great thing that I want to continue doing. And I always want to make sure that I'm giving enough information out there for everybody to feel very comfortable. So that being said, I think I spent about 10 minutes kind of rambling on as far as getting ourselves ready in place, and we just wanted to actually give everybody a good understanding of where we're at. So for everybody tuning in right now, and everybody that doesn't know me, that might have ran into the channel by coincidence or by accident or because they like the thumbnail, my name is Nick Sikalis. I'm a real estate professional here in New York, and I primarily will do most of my business on the island, Long Island, that is, and going over towards the borders like Queens and Brooklyn. That's the majority of the business I do. I do some work in the city, in Manhattan. Um, for the people that don't live uh, in New York, when the city is basically the five boroughs. It's not just Manhattan, but for the people that are here locally, we usually refer Manhattan as the city. So most of the business that I do is primarily on the island, Nassau County, Queens, Suffolk, um, Brooklyn, and like occasionally I dabble in Manhattan. So that's a little bit about me. I do real estate transactions, sales, property management. I started doing this officially, unofficially, when I was 18 years old. I'm 43 right now, so that's about 25 years worth of real estate experience and understanding. So I know a thing about a thing or two. You know, I'm not necessarily the end all be all as far as advisors, but when you do hear something coming from me and you hear something relayed to the public, there's usually some kind of understanding and backing of why I'm saying these things. It's not just to get a impulse reaction. It's not just to get a crazy response from the public. It's to basically get everybody in an understanding of what's happening. And I'll start off basically based off the title that you saw. Are we in a real estate crash or boom? And one of the things that's been bothering me, and one of the reasons why I'm making this video, is you're seeing ongoing videos, one after the other, just talking about we're going to go into a crash. We're going to go into, you want to call it a crash, you want to call it correction, you want to call it a bust, you want to call it a bubble burst, you want to call it whatever you want to call it. Either way, you're having a lot of people talking about how we're going to have a major, major catastrophe when it comes to the housing situation, not only in New York and throughout the country. And I'm not going to disagree with a majority of the predictions that are out there for the sole purpose that real estate is a type of sector that is cyclical. It always goes round and round. It has its highs, it has its lows, and it goes through various corrections and various upswings. So I didn't turn my phone off. I should have turned my phone off. Um, so you have a series of cycles that we normally go through. We're not going through a normal cycle right now. There's nothing normal about the times that we're living in, and there's nothing normal about this housing market. There's nothing normal about our economy. There's nothing normal about our daily living. Everything is very abnormal. So I'm not going to disagree with the fact that people are predicting the fact that we're going to go through some type of correction, some kind of downswing in real estate. That's going to happen because everything that keeps going up, 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 all the way up, eventually has to find a peak and, like, take a step back. You just can't keep going up forever without a little bit of a pullback. That's always going to happen. And in a normal, healthy type of environment, you get a little correction. The market self adjusts, and then it starts going back up again. Now, this is not a healthy market, and it's not a normal market. So let's kind of give everybody an understanding of what the environment currently consists of. Back in January, February, we got all the rumblings about the coronavirus. We had all the talk about possibly locking us down. People were starting to panic at that point. Um, we were still relatively naive as far as what we're dealing with. You could take it on a political level, you could take it on a personal level, you could take it on a everything level. But wherever you want to throw the blame on at this point, you're basically looking at a situation where nobody really knew. And we can't really point the finger at people and say, well, I would have done this or I would have done that, because we weren't in the people's place in the authority and government, because and we weren't in a position to make those decisions. Because I promise you, if other decisions were made at that time, people would have been pounding down on the officials that made the decisions, um, that they were making the wrong decisions then too. You can never win in these kind of situations, and it's a bad situation when you have a pandemic. A pandemic is not something that you could somehow salvage or make it into something that um, could turn into something with a silver lining. It's just a bad situation altogether. So forget. I'm not going to turn this into political. I've turned things into politically in the past, and people have heard my rants about wrong decision, right decisions, why we went to lockdown, quarantine, whether the after effects, the dominoes that are all falling, are appropriate, uh, based on you know reactions and actions of individuals. I'm not going to get into that right now. This is not the stream for that. This is just giving you a little bit of history of where we're at right now and trying to give you an understanding, an outlook, and an ability to um, be able to process what we're dealing with and be able to make an educated opinion and educated investments moving forward. So at that time, we were still in limbo. A lot of things were happening, and one of the big things that were rumbling in the air were what's going to happen with the real estate market. Okay, and at that point in time, anybody that remembers correctly and actually has been in this industry and really understands how everything works is we had a scenario where the market was softening in a lot of different areas. I'll just hit New York, and for example, we were going through a softening period. Commercial was already in a really hard position. It was already not only it was a little bit past softening. We were having a lot of issues as far as commercial properties being moved, especially in the concentrated part of Manhattan, New York City, and residential was softening as well. It wasn't as rabid of a demand as it was in the past. You had buyers still out there, but the inventory was at higher levels. So buyers were not necessarily with the gun against the head and kind of like pushed into making these impulse type of buys because they had a lot of options at that point. And when you have a lot of options, you take your time a little bit. You want to see what's out there. You want to make sure that uh, the purchase that you're making, especially for first time homeowners, this was the first ever purchase that they're making in their lives, and they wanted to make sure that they were making it in the right, smart, educated way, and they didn't want to feel like they were overpaying. And I don't blame them. Nobody ever wants to overpay for anything. It'd be ridiculous to want to do that. I'm just ah, maybe that gives a little better lighting. All right, we got a little bit better lighting. That's pretty good. So, oh, maybe it's because my laptop was actually not plugged in, and I'm getting a darker view. Okay, that's probably one of the reasons why I'm dealing with darker lighting. I thought everybody was getting darker lighting. It was just me, but I did add some extra lighting, so hopefully that makes the viewing a little bit better. I hope. But now you get to see my ugly face a little bit more clearly, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for you. If you want to scare your kids, just put on the video of my face, and it'll probably scare them. That would be pretty good. But at that time, you had all the buyers basically um, with options. They were looking at a scenario where um, we don't have to rush. There's no rush. There's not. It's not necessary. And then the Corona talks were all coming in place, and the idea of quarantining people and putting us under lockdown started to become more and more real as we were going into February, end of February, going into March, and you had a lot of the people that were under quarantine and lockdown that were sellers previously, they ended up starting to pull their houses off the market a little bit at a time. At one point, there was a major pull off. You saw one week after the other, lots of houses just being pulled off the market. Now, many of these sellers decided that they're not going to be putting the house back on the market for the foreseeable future. Other ones decided to pull it off for a little bit until everything cooled down with the lockdown. Because here's the thing, a lot of people did not want people going into their houses. First of all, in like New York, we had so many restrictions. It was very tough to be able to get people in one way or the other because we had to abide by all the state mandates and guidelines. Most of the stuff that we're doing, unless we had something secured in place where you needed to actually um, have a physical walk-in. Everything was done virtually with the cameras and that kind of thing. That's when I went out there and started scrambling, looking for 360-degree cameras and getting myself a little bit more knowledgeable with the technology, how to be able to pull off a few of these different type of um, video promotions and picture promotions and that kind of thing. So it was a little bit of a learning experience for me as well. And a lot of people that were my peers in this industry were learning on the spot immediately. But that being said, the owners, the sellers, pulled their houses off the market. So there were some that were left behind that had to be, the for one reason or another, they were, you had investment properties that um, uh, flippers had bought that they needed to get rid of. They couldn't afford to take it off the market and wait. You had builders that were building new houses that were completed, almost completed. They needed to continue to marketing and selling these places. Just because everything else was at halt didn't mean that their bills were going to stop coming in. They had a situation. You had other people that already had purchased another home, and now they're stuck with two homes that they're going to be in a situation with two mortgages, and they need to get rid of their house. You have a lot of that stuff going on. So you had a certain segment of place houses that stayed on the market. Now at that time, I want to say the first couple of weeks, first week or so of lockdown here in New York, you had you had a few deals that actually happened very quickly. and you had a lot of sellers that impulsively took offers where they normally wouldn't take, that were lower than what they had expectations for the reason that they were afraid of what was coming up. And as their real estate advisor and real estate consultant, we couldn't really give them a good indication of where we're going to happen because we were just learning day by day everything was happening. And the truth be said, every single day something new was happening that was affecting the market in one way or the other. And mostly at that time, it was all negative, like really, really negative. So you had a few panic sells to lower offers the first week or so of lockdown, which ended up happening they ended up making the situation of inventory even uh, more lopsided, because now you had a good section of house just sells fast. Now you don't have um, a, even that small pocket of houses and buildings that were left behind on the market. Now you had maybe half of that left because you basically wiped out a lot of the inventory through impulsive sells. And those buyers that bought at that time look like geniuses now, because they ended up buying, really negotiated hard, ended up getting pretty decent deals, especially looking now, hindsight 2020, now being in October. You know, they still thought they were overpaying at that point for one reason or another, but now looking back at it, how fast we escalated, they made the smartest move of making that fast move into buying the place that they liked before the hysteria started to kick in. And here's where the hysteria is. You have uh, you have a you have a crazy hysteria that's happening right now. And I'm not saying this as far as be trying to be funny or anything like that, but it's a little nutty. Um, but there's a lot of validity to it, where um, you had a lot of the people in the congested areas like New York City, where they said, enough, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be congested. I don't want to be locked down in an apartment building where I'm trapped with a bunch of other people and not be able to live my life. I want to be able to go and breathe some fresh air without having to worry that somebody's going to cough on me um, and give me coronavirus. And I'm not saying this to be funny. This was really the mindset of a lot of people, and it still is. So what happens next? The natural progression. People started to look for other options. They started to look outside of the metro areas. They started to look into the suburban areas. They started to look out of state. So all of a sudden, there was a major interest and a major demand starting to build up in the suburbs, out of state. Now, the longer the lockdown lasted, the higher this demand and the higher the urgency built up, because now not only are you afraid to be in a confined area with a lot of other people around you, you also starting to lose a lot of the things that you enjoyed in the metro areas. Like give a perfect example, like in New York City. If you don't have the restaurants to be able to go to, you don't have the theaters to go to, you don't have the museums, you don't have the parks, you don't have all these different things that made New York City so great to be able to live and have a great experience of your every day to day life going through. If you don't have these things, compounded with the fact that you're still under quarantine and lockdown yourself, now you got a problem. Now you got a major problem. This is not isolated to New York. Now I'm talking about in New York terms because I'm based out of here, but the same effect was happening over in LA. The same effect was happening over in Chicago. The same thing was happening in many of the other major cities, the ones that implemented the hard lockdowns. Now, again, I'm not going to get into the fact of these. extreme measures necessary or not, time will tell. And I'm sure I'm gonna have my 2 cents when people start chirping in whether it was right or wrong. But at this time on this stream, I'm not gonna get into that. I have gotten into that in the past, and I will get into it in the future, but just not now. But the more extreme the conditions, the more extreme the mandates, the more restricted people felt, the more of a reason they had to get out of the metro areas. Very simple. So you had this all happening. Now this is building up. We're a month into it or 2 months into it. All of a sudden, the BLM movement happened. Everybody that doesn't know it, that's been in like a basement somewhere in the dark corner of the world, that doesn't know what's happening with the world. We had a situation where a guy named George Floyd was killed by um, three officers, one officer that was stepping on his neck for like 8 minutes, 9 minutes. Really horrible kind of situation that, you know, and these cops, they did a really horrible thing that ignited people at that point. People were already in high tension. People were already, they had all this pent up type of frustration, all this pent up type of animosity, anger, didn't know where to direct it. Now something like this happened, which was a true atrocity, and it sparked people. And then you had protests started to pick up. And initially, the concept was to have peaceful protests. And that in itself was a problem because of the social distancing issues. But you can't stop people from protesting at this point unless you put martial law or whatever you do to stop people from doing it. Because protesting in a peaceful way is our right as Americans. Now, what ended up happening, these protests ended up turning into um, something else. You had a lot of anarchists, a lot of groups. Now, people know about Antifa, people know about all these different groups that got involved that ended up turning a lot of these peaceful protests into violent protests and very violent type of situations. Now, whether you agree with it or not, the one thing that I do believe, people that are living in areas that are under violent riots now, because these protests started to morph into riots and looting, as a resident, as a citizen that lives under that environment, you're not going to want to live there anymore. You know, it's only reasonable to think that you're going to want to live out there. And if I still lived in the city and I still had a situation where, you know, stores were getting broken into, glass was all over the place, plywood was abundant all over, covering half the world, and we are sitting and in fear that, are they going to start breaking into houses now? Are they going to start doing this? There's fires in the street. They're putting garbage cans on there. Fireworks are going off. You don't know if it's gunshots. You don't know if it's firecrackers. We don't know what's going on. It was complete chaos. And this is the only part of the stream that I'm going to get a little political on, especially in places like New York, California, Seattle, Portland. The local officials dropped the ball, completely dropped the ball by not getting things back in order. They really did. They started the whole defunding the police kind of situation, which already started to build up really like tension between the police departments and the local cities, and causing a major rift be, between the public and the people that are supposed to protect and serve the public. And you have a situation now where you have riots exploding, and you're having the local politicians telling them that you can't, you can't do what you have to do to stop this. You know, it was a big problem, major big problem. I mean, even here in New York, this is not like I'm making this up. De Blasio's daughter ended up getting arrested at one of these riots, and instead of, like, I don't know, as a father, I have three kids. As a father, and furthermore, if I was a father and I was a politician and I was an elected politician that was responsible for a city, I wouldn't turn around and publicly say I'm proud of my daughter for getting arrested for violating the rules. I wouldn't do that, but he did. So you have like scenarios like that that actually turn and make things even worse and worse and worse and worse, and you have um, a really high tension, a high urgency now, and sort of a repulsion from the city and from the city's environments. And you're having these people saying, I'm done. I'm out of here. I don't feel safe because of all the crime that's building up. Uh, I can't enjoy anything that I normally would enjoy being in this environment. And we said, like, all the, you know, perks and the great things of living in, a city environment are not there anymore. And not to mention, you have high taxes that you're paying through the nose on, and you're getting no benefit out of it, zero benefit out of it. So, what's that going to do? It's going to cause a mass exodus, a mass evacuation from the major metro areas that are under these type of conditions. I'm a New Yorker, and I hate seeing the fact that people have been leaving New York and going into Pennsylvania. They've been leaving to Texas, going to Florida. I hate it. I'm seeing friends of mine, people I know, associates, relatives, people that you know I never thought would ever leave New York. They're leaving, and it comes down to three things, three major things: safety, above all; financial, which I think for a lot of people, for a lot of people, I think that the financial and the safety go hand in hand, because that's the reality of it. And then the third thing, and I think it's an afterthought, but it can be just equally as important, and that's quality of life. Be able to go out in a place where you have a huge house that you know you're in a major metro area. You're in New York City, and the truth be said, for $1 million, you're going to get a shoebox of a unit, and you could still be in an apartment building. Like, the amenities not going to be great, but with that same $1 million, you can go out. Even if you go to the suburbs or upstate or whatever, you're getting a lot more for your money. But when you start venturing out to other states, you're getting a lot more for your money. As far as you're going to get a mansion for that kind of money, and the taxes and the upkeep are not even close to what it is over in New York City. So that's all happening. And those are the three factors that we're seeing the major exodus. And that same formula, and those three factors that I just brought up, actually uh, fit right in. You pick the city that's been seeing an exodus, and they will fit the same mold. I've been in high contact with a lot of the people that are in my profession, a lot of individuals throughout the states, and we're all hearing the same thing over and over again. So it's important to understand that that's the truth and the reality. Now, because of all these factors, the demand has built up to astronomical rates. I don't think anybody could have predicted that we were going to be having this kind of demand, this kind of insane type of um, response and depletion of inventory back in February. I promise you, people weren't seeing this. People seeing it a little bit, and I did make a couple videos where I kind of hinted that we might get a little bit of that. I didn't think that we were going to get a lot of that. I also didn't realize that we were going to have other outside factors hit us as well, like protests and riots and basically Armageddon and hell on earth and that kind of stuff. I didn't predict that because we didn't know. I thought the biggest factor that we're going to be dealing with was with what was currently at the time the focus, and actually it was a very scary thing, the fact that we had a pandemic of a disease that was basically spreading without us actually having a lot of information on, and it was actually killing people, and it was killing thousands of people, and it still continued to kill people. Thank God, not as close as the rates that it was at one point, but we're also more prepared, and we do have more ways to safeguard us now. So that being said, the demand started to build up to astronomical rates. So more houses actually started to hit the market. I want to say April, May time, going to June, you saw more and more houses hit the market. But the problem was, as many houses hit the market, that's how many houses went off the market. So you had a situation where you're basically not getting enough new inventory hitting the market in order to suffice the appetite of the public, and that still is continuing to this moment. And it's very, very, very strange for being in October and seeing a ton of inventory hit the market on a weekly basis, because usually this is the time of the year where people start to pull back and say, okay, we'll try again next year in the spring and that kind of thing. That's more the mindset that you see during this time set, rather than just get it on the market and get it sold. And that's what's happening. And it's still not enough. And the way I've actually calculated and looked at it, especially in our sector, uh, in order to be able to suffice the demand and in order to suffice the inventory and make it appropriate and bring the levels back to some normal type of setting, we'd have to get anywhere from around 2.5 to um, 3 homes back on the market for every one that sells. And that's just not happening at this time. The media loves reporting on this because it's great stories and you get people's attention by it. But the problem is the media and the reporting agencies, like if you're taking out all the analysis and the updates that are coming from MLS and from Zillow and from Realtor.com and housing associations and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they're behind the ball. They're not seeing what's happening at that moment. Now, it took them a while to realize that we were in a major seller market. And now that they did, now they're all jumping onto the bag when I'm putting the headlines together that it's major, it's a housing boom and that kind of thing. And now we're also getting all the stories telling us how we're going to have a housing bust. And it's not necessarily wrong what they're saying. However, what they're wrong about is not having a true understanding of timelines. And this where I'm getting at. You got X amount of people that have been losing out on bidding wars happening for homes right now. And unfortunately, I have plenty of buyers that we put plenty of offers on that we did not get accepted because the houses are selling for 30, $40,000 over asking price, and we're basically getting bought out, shot, locked out of these markets for some buyers. Other buyers, they actually have the capability to go over, and they'll outbid and come grossly overpay in order to purchase what they have to buy. Now, I can't see this just overnight disappearing. It's not going to be like somebody's going to flip a switch and we're not going to have a demand anymore. Demand's going to stay there until enough inventory replaces, or enough inventory is on there in order to somehow subdue the demand. And regardless of what the predictions that we're seeing of, well, we got to wait for elections to see what's happened. Yeah, things are going to change and people's mindsets are going to change dramatically after the elections hit, but it's not like it's going to immediately affect the market instantaneously. Okay, that's the one thing. The other thing is, a lot of people are saying, well, when the rates jump up again, you're not going to, the demand is going to die out. And that's true. You have the rates jump up enough, it's going to subdue demand. However, I'm getting almost sick of saying this because ever since 2008, we've been saying this over and over again. We're at historical lows every year. It's almost like we're at historical lows. Then we jump up a little bit, then go back to historical lows. I've never seen rates as low as they have been in the modern day. Never seen that happen. It's almost as if they're giving away the money in order to make these deals happen. It's very different, and even if they jump up a point from where they are today, we're still at extremely low rates. So I really can't see the appetite going away because of the rates jumping up, unless they jump up something drastic. Now, if we get into the fours, mid fours, that's when we're going to see a significant pushback. But the way this economy is going, and in order to keep um, things moving, I don't believe that the Fed is going to be making or instituting a high rate or jump anytime soon, which will force the banks to start to pick up their rates, uh, because they want to keep the market as healthy as humanly possible, and they want to make sure that they uh, are doing what they can to keep the people stimulated as far as wanting to make the purchases. So I really don't believe that concept, that thought process of the rates is going to apply anytime soon. Yeah, well, it's going to inevitably happen. They're not going to keep these rates the way they are forever. It's not going to happen. But it's going to take a little bit of time for us to see those big boosts in rates. Now, the other thing that people have been talking about and have been really getting into is the concept of, well, we're going to go into a foreclosure crisis where all the houses are going to get foreclosed on, the evictions and blah, blah, blah. Don't get me started on evictions right now. That's for a whole other video. And I'm going to talk about that in real depth. But let's just talk about the mortgages and the defaults. Okay. The way everything is set up right now, there is a moratorium in place on evictions. Okay. Until the end of the year. This is going through the whole country. Originally, it was till June, then it jumped to August. Now it's end of the year. It's just going to get pushed back. The eviction moratorium and the foreclosure moratorium going hand in hand, because even if the banks were had the ability to foreclose on somebody, they can't throw them out without evicting them, unless they peacefully go out or do cash for keys or something to that effect. So at least in states like New York, in some other states it's a little different. And if it is a little different in yours, you'll know your own laws. But in order to keep everything going, they have kept putting these moratoriums and these locks on, making it impossible for lenders or uh, mortgagors to be able to do what they have to do in order to get their property back, assets back, or actually get paid. So, because of that reason, everything's got pushed back till the end of the year. Now, what do you think is going to happen in the beginning of the year? You think that um, everything is all of a sudden going to change, and the courts are going to open up? Okay, now you could foreclose on people openly. Now you could evict people openly. No, that's not going to happen, because of the fact that you would have a complete Armageddon happening in the real estate world. You would have a lot of homeless people, whereas if we didn't have enough homeless problems throughout the country now, you'd have a ton of homeless people on the market, um, out on the streets, and you would have a living nightmare. Besides the fact that they just don't have the resources, the personnel, and the abilities to be able to process and do all these cases in an appropriate way without causing severe damage. So it's going to be a slow, sluggish process in the courts. Now, that being said, don't forget all the other cases that were pushed and held back, that got halted while we were in lockdown. Now, slowly, those are starting to they started to get reopened, and things were happening in order to get those moved. But there's still a lot of glut that's left behind that never got moved forward on because of all the delays. So theoretically, theoretically, if we're going to have everything open up, especially in states like us, and I'm not going to get into the blue state, red state kind of thing. We'll just call them the states with the extreme um, restrictions. Like New York is a state with extreme restrictions. California is a state with extreme restrictions. We'll just call those scenarios, those places. Uh, Once everything opens up, you're not gonna have a quick process. So theoretically, I can't see new cases happening until the very, very, very earliest. And I think that's being very ambitious, mid 2021, which also means if they start getting opened up and started in mid 2021, they're not going to be concluded until the end of the year of 2021 or going into 2022, which means we're not going to have that influx of inventory that everybody's expecting, of all the shadow inventory and all the foreclosed houses and distressed situations hitting the market at the same time. That's not going to happen all in 2021. That's going to be slowly, slowly dragged out and moved in. So that means we're still going to have that buyer demand. The media is not going to catch up with the situation until it's too late, as far as all the inventory that hits the market at one point with all the stress and foreclosed situations. That's, forget about that. So it's going to take everybody. People are still going to be through the mindset going to the end of this year, going into 2021, where there's just not enough, and we have to continue getting into bidding wars, and it's going to continue. And whether for better or for worse, we're going to be seeing this type of scenario for maybe even longer than what I'm predicting. I think that 2022 will be the year where we see the dramatic implications happening. as far as the housing market's concerned, but I could be a little off. It could even be dragged on to 2023. But the one thing that I think that everybody is predicting that is, in my opinion, incorrect is that by the end of the year, going into 2021, that we're going to see a crash. I don't see it happening, unless, don't get me wrong, unless unless there is another outside factor that happens. Okay, that I can't predict. That I cannot make any kind of crystal ball type of prediction, telling people of what's going to happen. That I can't do because if we get hit with another coronavirus or the same coronavirus with a bigger wave, I don't know how that will affect us. If we have a natural disaster that happens, which we get hit by every year, that might cause other issues. I can't, foresee that and understand how that will, affect our markets. If aliens come down from the skies and ETs running all over the streets and freaking people out and causing mass hysteria, I can't predict what will happen to the market. Now that's extreme, and I'm joking, but anything outside that could happen that would cause another um, shift and another major type of uh, potential problem for the economy, for the housing market, for human beings, for our health, for the globe, for the world, I can't predict. I'm just predicting based on what we're dealing with today. And I can honestly say that I think that this housing surge will continue to go up to the mid 2021, up to the end of 2021. And then once we get to the end of 2021, we're going to start seeing certain things hit. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to be that predictor. I'm not trying to be that guy that just comes up with random things. I'm just using an educated approach, a logical thought process as far as evaluating and looking at this market and understanding it. I live it, I work it every day. I have um, a firm understanding of how it works, and that's all I could say. You know, now that being said, I'm just gonna say a couple things, and I want to. This is a fair warning, and I want to make sure that everybody that's watching right now on YouTube understands that what you just heard me say is my opinion. I'm giving out some advice, I'm giving out some tips, I'm giving out some insight, but this is all coming from my perspective. Now, you can agree with it or you can disagree with it. Um, you could believe me, you could not trust what I have to say, but this is coming from my perspective and this is my approach, my understanding. I believe by it, and I never tell anybody this is the way or this, it's my way or the highway. Um, you have you're within your perfect rights to uh, take the information I give and not do anything with it or do something with it, but that's your own personal uh, decision to make. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because there's a lot of real estate YouTubers out there. There's a lot of these people that call themselves gurus, other people that have already started to bash them and say they're fake gurus. People have asked me to sit down and analyze other people's videos and tell you what my personal beliefs and perspectives are what they're saying, how true or untrue it is. And I'm not sure if that's something I want to do or not do. I don't like to sit there and just criticize people. You know, you've got people out there that are just, giving their advice. First of all, you know, YouTube, as much education and information you can get out of it, and it's a great source for information and education that you can get. But it's just like TV. Don't believe everything you hear on TV. Don't believe everything you hear on YouTube. It's just the way it is. Use some common sense. When you got some nut screaming and telling you you're gonna make money if you use my system, blah 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 blah, blah, just click on the thing below, and then you click on the thing below, and then all of a sudden it's saying, "Pay me $2,000 to come to my seminar," or whatever they tell you. It doesn't matter whether it's $2,000, $1,000, $500, $1. Doesn't matter. They're they're making this video to sell you something. It's not necessarily there to open up themselves to help people without asking for anything in concern. In my personal case, all I ask for people to do on my video platform is, if you like what you hear, click a like. If you don't like it, click a dislike. It'd be great for you to subscribe, and I always ask everybody to subscribe. But that's basically the cost of basically, watching one of my videos, and it's not forced upon you. I'm not saying that unless you press subscribe, I'm not going to give you the information. I'm going to give it to you regardless, and hopefully you like it, you appreciate it, and you support the channel by subscribing. But I believe that the bait and switch thing, and the fact that a lot of people are just out there in a way where they're just, it's not good. It really isn't good. Um, the kind of information knowledge, I think it's a little predatory, and you know we've seen this in the past with the infomercials and that kind of thing, and this is not that much different from what we seen in the past, where people peddling, either the next great stock tip, or the best investment advice, or the greatest real estate advice, or I got a great book that you have to read. Whatever the case is, all you have to do is become a member of my thing and pay me X amount of money. you know I'm kind of more okay with the guys that actually are just like selling a book or something, or that case, rather than the people that are just selling the system. you know Before you sell a system, you need to see if this person actually is proven. You have guys like Grant Cardone, and I'm not going to say anything negative or positive about him, but this guy's had a system for years, and has been, collecting millions of dollars, and now he's in a major lawsuit. You come up with a conclusion of why that's happening. I'm not going to sit there and criticize about it. It's his problem, and the problem of all the people that were naive enough to go into the system. Or maybe they were smart and maybe he has a great system. I don't know, because I haven't contributed. I haven't went into it. And that's the thing. You have a lot of these people that are sitting and criticizing one person's system or another. But the truth be said, you never use their system. If you really want to sit there and pick out people specifically and analyze them and expose them, I suggest that you sit down and actually buy their system and disassemble it and see if it's valid or not. And then you go and criticize them, instead of just saying, well, this is what I think based on what he's saying. It doesn't work that way. If I read a book, if I go grab a book and I read a book and it's a pretty crummy book, I read it. So now I know why it's crummy. I'm not looking at just the title and the brief summary on the side of it and saying, okay, this sucks or this is a scam, I could get that preconceived notion, and many times I'll be right. But you can't just call out people without actually looking at what their services are. Um, whether you agree with them or not, whatever the case is, I'm just saying. But you have all these YouTubers that are actually making videos, just crushing one another to get ratings, to get viewers, to get subscriptions. Yeah, that's great. How long is that going to last? When are you going to run out of people to bash and attack each other? It's not a good thing. So, like I said, I don't like the way it goes. You have some really great people out there on YouTube that are giving out solid advice. Um, I've talked about uh, Robert Kiyosaki in the past. I think he's got a really solid message, and there is some definite value in what he has to offer as far as his information, advice, education. Um, I really do think there's something to that. Ken McElroy, that's actually affiliated with Robert Kiyosaki, is another one. And don't get me wrong, I'm not getting paid. I don't get paid to endorse anything or anything like that. I'm just saying this out of personal experience and understanding. And I say this because I've also bought products that they actually provide, read them, or some of them were audiobooks that I listened to and found value in them. And one video down the line, I'm actually going to open up my thing of books and audiobooks and stuff like that I've used in the past that I recommend or not recommend. And you can do whatever you want with that, but you know they're very good. There's another guy called Meet Kevin that's been doing a YouTube show. It's been getting really really popular late, and I'll give him a lot of credit. He is a hustler. He puts in the work as far as uh, putting out a product, a quality product. He doesn't do a crappy video stream like I do. He actually puts in the production and high quality stuff. Puts his music in there and the whole nine. And I think he's pretty solid when it comes to that. I think the only problem with his advice and knowledge that he gives out is his experience. He's been doing this for a little while, but not that long of a time, and he hasn't gone through extreme cycles yet. I think he started back in that was the tail end of the financial crisis. And that being said, if you're starting from that jumping point, all you really knew is a really bad situation that only got good going forward. You haven't gone the opposite way yet. So you got to be very careful as far as the advice you hear from him and understand that this is based only off of a lot of the later years and his experience in later years. Yeah, he does do the history. I'll give him super credit as far as uh, the analysis that he puts together and the research that he does. But the only thing holding him back a little bit, I think, is the amount of years he's been doing this and having a true understanding of the market feel and public sentiment and um, basically being able to work with that kind of a situation. So, again, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm really not calling out. There's another guy, Graham Stephan, the very same category, very similar category um, as me, Kevin. And Graham Stephan is another guy, self-made, young guy, go-getter, hungry, does his research, does great quality content. He's become a YouTube celebrity. Uh, but again, the only thing holding him back is the amount of years he's been actually doing it. So I like the messages that he gives out there. I like the fact that he's very conservative as far as his approaches. He's not the over aggressive guy. Um, as far as my understanding, Graham Stephan doesn't actually peddle or try to sell anything other than just giving his videos out there. I could be wrong, and if I am, just put something in the comments to let me know that he actually does sell something. Uh, I'm not talking about like his little Weeble and all that stuff promotions. I'm talking about it like a system or a book or anything like that. Uh, a lot of the people that are online actually, do promotions and advertisements for products while they're doing their videos in order to be able to get the amount of revenue to be able to sustain and keep doing the videos. Now, if I got enough of a subscriber base, maybe I'd have to do the same thing because then I'd probably have to step up the quality of the production and spend a lot more money on these videos. Uh, but you can see from my amount of subscribers that we have here, I got about 3,700 subscribers, so that's pipsqueak in the big YouTube world. So lets me stay under the radar and not have to worry about super quality promotion production yet. But sooner or later, I guess I'll have to step it up, and I'll do my best to be able to put out better videos. You got the flip and sell guys. You have a whole bunch of guys there, and maybe I will break down a video of just giving everybody a a type of breakdown of real estate YouTubers that I really find value in the message they give out and the information that they give out, um, and give you the validity and the understanding that you can actually improve yourself by seeing some of their videos. Maybe I will do that, and maybe I will do a video about buyer beware kind of YouTubers, like, because I think both sides of the spectrum should be actually considered. You definitely should be looking at a scenario where um, you have the good and the bad. I hate doing just videos about bad stuff. I want to be able to focus on some of the good stuff as well, and actually highlight when somebody's giving out a great message and somebody's giving really valuable real estate advice and um, something that will help improve all the viewers. And at the same time, I can't only just say, point out those individuals. It'd be a neglect on my end by not saying anything about the people that are blatantly predators and blatantly doing things that are dangerous to the public. So, I will make a video basically highlighting some of the best and some of the worst, and more than likely because people on YouTube hate looking at very long videos, I'll probably split it up because I could probably turn it into a 5 hour video, and I don't think anybody's want to sit and listen to me rant and ramble on for 5 hours because I've already been rambling on this video for I don't know how long right now. How long have I been doing this now? I've been doing this for a little over an hour, and I definitely thank everybody again that's on here listening to me. Hopefully, I haven't put you completely to sleep, and you got actually something out of everything I've been saying. And if you do enjoy, just make sure that you press like. And again, if you don't like it, you press dislike. And at the same time, um, if you subscribe, it would really help the channel out a lot by improving the algorithm and actually having me be found by more individuals that are searching for the type of topics that I discuss on here. And it will give me the opportunity to know that there's enough people out there that actually want to hear what I have to say and give me a reason to make more and more videos. And like I mentioned before, actually trying to do a little bit of better production on these videos. So I don't want to end it just like this, where I just tell everybody, you know, about other people's flaws and that kind of personal suggestions. The one thing I'm going to leave everybody off on, and I want everybody to have a really good understanding, is be cautious. And this goes out to not only individuals looking to make a purchase now, the individuals that are looking to buy something now, individuals that are trying to make something better of themselves through the use of real estate. This goes out to individuals that are in my profession, my peers, that are trying to uh, put together transactions. Be very cautious and be very conservative and be very aware of what is happening on a day to day basis. I strongly suggest that you keep updates on all the current events that are happening. You better have uh, your finger on the pulse of your current territory and location, and do not ignore what's happening in the outside territories, because there's always going to be a ripple effect. So I mentioned to everybody as far as being able to put logical and educated type of strategies and approaches towards how they approach real estate, but you won't be able to do that unless you're aware of everything around you. So that's the last thing I'm gonna leave off with everybody. Stay as conservative as humanly possible with your investments moving forward. And I will say one last thing: for the people that have to make that purchase, they have to buy a house for a certain reason or another. It's a quality of life reason, or they need it because they need somewhere to move into, or they're fighting the whole rent versus own dilemma. If you're looking to go and purchase a home for a long period of time, I could probably say with confidence that you should do it, because if you're going to sell in 10, 20, 30 years from now, we're probably going to go through one, two, three cycles again. So you'll be okay. Because the one thing that is a guaranteed fact in this world, there's only X amount and finite amount of inventory and real estate existing in this world today. They're not building any more real estate. So the value of it, as the population grows and the demand grows, will always increase unless you have outside factors. And I'm not going to get into that. But if you're going to be taking that approach, and that you're going to be going through that method of thought process, buy with confidence, buy what you like, enjoy it, and in 20, 30 years from now, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. Even if you sell for exactly what you sold it for, you had use of it for all those years, which that's not going to be the case, especially in the growing towns and areas and cities. Now, if you're in a city or an area that's going the opposite way, you need to rethink that. But don't let the current environment hold you back from doing that. You have low rates that you can take advantage of, and you'll be fine. People that are looking to buy, that are looking to make a profit, or like a fix and flipper, developer, builder, etc., that are looking to get in and out really quickly, those people got to be a little careful. Definitely have to be a little careful, and you have to buy smart, because if you don't buy smart, you're going to get burned. I promise you. Do not allow yourself to get burned. Do not allow yourself to go. I'm going to say this again. Do not allow yourself to get burned, because you could be way underwater. You can make 2008 look like a beautiful dream if you don't do the right thing. So be careful. And for landlords out there, don't buy on potential income right now. There's too many anomalies, and there's too many type of issues going forward right now, as far as people's understanding of how rental law, landlord tenant kind of situations are going to pan out going forward. We don't know how more restrictive the laws are going to become at the for the foreseeable future, as far as landlords concerned, and we don't know how rent freezes and all that stuff is going to impact us down the line. So be very careful. Buy based on only the income that exists this moment today. Only today. Don't buy on the potential unless you're looking to improve and add onto it or whatever the case is, and then you have to do other calculations. Well, be super careful on that. But that being said, thank you to everybody that's been watching. Didn't expect to have any audience today, but it looked like we had a handful of people that were on the stream, and I definitely do appreciate that and thank you. I hope everybody has an awesome Columbus Day going forward. I hope everybody has a really great week and have some really awesome real estate deals that they're working on. And before I sign off, I'm also going to mention the real estate horror story contest that's running right now. You can get all the info on the video that actually uh, is called the Real Estate Horror Stories contest. And get all the info on there. It's going to be great. It's going to be on the last show of the Real Estate Plate at October 26th. And we're going to be announcing the top five submittals at that time. And then after that, we're going to put it out to the public for a vote of what the best videos are. And the top three will actually get prizes. So it's going to be a really good thing. I'm really excited to see some of the stories that are coming in. I already got a few stories that are coming in. So thank you to everybody that already put them in. Um, it's always one of my favorite shows of doing the year. And again, thanks for watching. And hope everybody stays well. And should we? Yes, we are.